What?
Never mind.
Your dog disagrees. Alex does not have to turn on his computer.
What do I have to
I
do?
guess so. No, every time Matthew presses record, there's something pops up on my screen I have to press. I thought it would be the same for you.
Oh,
and you
not
weren't
for me.
looking.
No,
So I was trying to remind you, but
nothing ever pops up for me.
okay.
Nope. We're all good. Welcome to the Love Boat. Neil will be making another run. He's breaking hearts all over the stars. He's having adventures. He's part of a pirate crew. It is our best friend, Neil. Elephant with the trunk with the monk. I'm not going to go any further with
Sure.
that, but I'm here. I am Matthew. This is the Star Wars Generations podcast. It is not the Love Boat, although there was some little like sparkles of that in the air this week on Skeleton Crew, episode 4. So I'm going to throw it off to my two wonderful co-hosts, starting with the Wasteland Child baddie, Erin herself. Erin, what do you think of this episode?
Oh my God, I had so much fun. It just felt like, I don't know, just classic shenanigans. It was especially giving Goonies this week, I will say, as they're doing their treasure hunt. And children being treated like adults, though, fucking crazy.
Right?
Really wild way to behave. So there was some stuff I loved, some stuff that I'm like, oh my God. But it makes a great story.
When Wynn said, "Are you leading the children in a rebellion against the adults to take over your planet?" I was just like, "Oh, kid, I'm so with you. I'm so with you."
She said, what?
Very,
All right.
very, very children of the corn.
Thick Smee is our other representative, also known as Alex,
Hello.
also known as Anakin fanboy number 1.
That's correct.
What do we have to say today?
I really, really love this episode, specifically because it deepened just some of the mystery behind everything. We learn a lot more about like these like at planets, and they're the secrecy behind them, and it's weird to think that there's kind of like these clone worlds that have all descended into anarchy one way or another, but Aladdin has remained hidden and secret. And I don't know, this show continues to find ways to like create fun little side stories, but keep me locked in this mystery and like deepening the mystery every episode.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan, and also want to point out that my name is because every time they showed SM33 from behind, which was multiple times this episode, my boy looked thick. Is all I'm going to say.
That's fair. That's fair. We got to recognize these things. So let me start by asking, because I had one of my biggest fears when it comes to shows like this, threatened, but then it turned out it wasn't the case. When they got to this new planet that's not at Aden, but looks exactly like it, except that obviously there's been this total devastation and warfare and stuff. But at first, it just looked like there was nothing there anymore. Did any of you think there was a time travel shenanigans happening? Because I got really nervous that there was going to be time travel in my Star Wars, and I do not want time travel in my Star Wars.
I thought there could have been, but I wasn't really sure. I was like, I really feel like that's not where they're going, but it does like kind of incite that thought a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought that it was more that like I don't know. I didn't really know. My brain went to different beliefs. I think for a minute it landed on the fact that like maybe they decided to like destroy themselves because their secret was out, and whoever was keeping it secret was like, well, secret's out, we got to just burn everything to the ground like scorched earth style.
That is dark. I like it.
Well, yeah, it studied a lot of history. So so that's kind of where my brain went. And then I was excited to learn that I was incorrect. And instead we have however many there are clone the same worlds, but experiencing different things.
Right. And so let's talk about that idea, because like this isn't just like multiverse stuff. It seems these are distinct planets, but they're close enough to like, if I understand correctly, they went to what looked exactly like Neil's house. And like, there's that whole same design of like a house that's built around a tree that's growing inside of it. And, to me, this is not like two planets that were like cloned from each other thousands of years ago and they've both developed. This is like 5 minutes ago, someone cloned them. Like, what do you guys think is going on with all these planets?
So the way I kind of see it or feel it is like it was almost like each planet was an experiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to see what would happen, and they were all set up with this infrastructure. And the only planet that hasn't rebelled against infrastructure or fallen to waste some other way is at Aten.
Mm.
So I feel like that's like kind of the successful run of like whatever experiment or kind of like colony they're trying to make. So that's kind of how I interpreted it, is that like, oh yeah, it looks the same, but it's not quite the same because like the same things were planted, it's the same infrastructure, but it's a completely different planet. So yeah, that tree's going to be bigger because maybe the seed type we planted over here, we slightly altered it for the other planet. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a similar thought in that like all these planets were set up maybe like either at the same time or like, I mean, clearly like the existence of that tower listing all the different planets means that like there was knowledge and a connection of all of them at some point.
Mhm.
So I don't know if like they were set up in secret by the Republic and then like as experiments, and then like Aaron said, like maybe like they were all set up exactly the same, but like just different planets like rejected or rebelled against the system or the or like the utopia that had been created, and only Aten remains, and to protect it, like people were destroying the names and
Mhm.
coordinates and ways to find it. But like you said, I mean, it is like for them, they're like everything down to the like design of the buildings was exactly the same. So to me, they had to have all been built around the same time, meant I'm purposely like cloned like that, and then like whether it was like for an experiment purposes or like an effort to create a utopia, and only one has succeeded.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that kind of all tracks with how I'm understanding it. I'm just very confused about the timeline. I would like some further explanation on that at some point. But it's I thought it did a really good job of like building the lore and like telling us more about the universe, while also just giving us these really fun stories, and like
Mhm.
Neil getting to like meet this girl who like they clearly like click with each other in some way, whatever that is at their age. But I really love the story of, because Neil has been kind of the dork of the group. He's a little bit more sentimental. He's not as athletic. He's very much kind of the nerd. He's not,
Mhm.
and I love that. That's who I always was. And just the utter innocence of like them being all like, well, we're at war, we have to fight, and him saying, well, but what if one side just apologizes and then you just stop fighting? And
Yeah.
it's just like, that sounds completely ridiculous, but it's also completely ridiculous that it wouldn't work. Like, of course, that is how fights should end, but of course, there's so much
Yeah.
more involved and all that kind of stuff. And having him be so portrayed as not even innocent, but naive, but also there being enough truth to what he's saying, and that it working to some extent, that at the end, the daughter of the rebel chief, the daughter of the chief of this clan that he has been so interested in, kind of actually respects him and kind of can say like, yeah, no, you have a real power that your friends don't necessarily have.
Mhm.
I just love that so much.
Yeah, it was really nice to see him shine and like stand up for his differences,
Mhm.
because like especially in like a peer pressure situation where they were like, okay, everybody go train, and he was like, I'm just not gonna go. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
sit here because there's no point in this.
He
When it's
also
like,
opened up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Aaron.
oh, I was just gonna say, when I feel like most kids in that situation will be like, okay, well, what's gonna happen if I don't do it?
Mhm.
But he's like,
Mm.
well, it doesn't make sense for me to do it regardless. So
And I
I
feel like Neil also opened up. I don't remember. I can't remember her name. Wasteland Child Baddie. Whatever her name was, the daughter of the chief. But like he kind of opened her eyes.
Not hystera, Hylaya, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But point is that he like Neil like made her think of like peaceful alternatives for the first time. Like just that like his, for him, he was like, I'll just apologize. Like I would just try and find a middle ground, and like Neil very unapologetically himself. And at no point has Neil tried to like conceal who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I don't know. Fern has tried to like act extra tough, and the other boy whose name's escaping me,
Win.
Win,
whim.
Win.
Thank you, Wim. I mean, he tries to lie and act a little bit cooler and different things, and KB is kind of mysterious, and I don't know. He just like Neil is always himself, very unapologetically himself.
No, it's really good. And we also got some nice plot development with Fern. They get into all this trouble during the episode. It felt like it was kind of a realization of like, clearly they're off on an adventure and they're a little scared, but I think there's still some level of which they're kind of like, this is a fun game that we're playing at. This is a fun adventure. And they're kind of in that place where they don't really accept that there's consequences. And here they get into, the situation where they're basically put into the middle of a war, and without some real luck and some good thinking from some of them, like they may have all been killed in this. And it clearly hits Fern really hard. And she actually tries to kind of say to Wim, maybe like, you should have been captain. Maybe I'm over my head. What do you all think of like that situation with her and how it played out between the two of them?
I loved having like that moment from Fern because I feel like she needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, one, to calm the fuck down herself, but also like, I don't know what personal bias this is or what it was, but I was starting to get like a little sick of Fern, like a little fed up with her attitude. I was like, girl. And then I was like, oh no, she's just a little girl. She's literally just a little girl. When I watched this episode, I was like, it's all making sense now,
Yeah.
And so I feel like it was, whatever that reaction says, it was just a powerful moment for her character that made me like really adjust my view of her. I will say, I was watching it, I was like, Wim is so fucking stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I love him, but sitting there, she's like, I can't do this. He's like, don't worry, you'll figure it out. Like, what the hell,
Yeah, it's
man?
not helpful.
She's like, leave me alone.
And like, that's better than where he would have been in the first episode, where he'd been like, okay, well, I can figure it out. Let me take over. Like he's,
Yeah.
but I can tell, I totally get.
Because I feel like maybe she wanted somebody else to like offer to help.
Yeah, but would he have come up with anything?
Of course not. But
No,
then
no.
she wouldn't feel so much pressure.
I mean, why don't we just go get KB? Because she clearly like has her goggles and she knows some shit. But like, I totally am with you on Fern. I really felt for her. And I think it's really helpful that we probably know more about her parent than anyone else's. Even, we've met Win's dad, Steve Urkel, but we don't really know much about him. And we don't know too much about Fern's mom, but we should know that she's very much a go-getter. She's a leader in the community. She's got a lot of like, I need to take control of things. And I can totally see that her daughter, or any child, I don't think it's specific to gender, but that her child would wind up feeling like she has to be in control and put an awful lot of pressure on herself and to not trust others necessarily. And so, yeah, seeing that it didn't feel like this was just like, a dumb girl, or let me say, it didn't feel like it was just like a two-dimensional character having a realization. This felt like a complex, of course, this is what the character's feeling, and it's good that they're coming to realize it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice moment. And I feel like something like that is a growing moment for Wim, just to like experience someone his age being genuine and open and honest. Not that he's not that, but I think just it wouldn't, well, okay. But I think also it would never occur to him to like have a conversation like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Also though,
Go ahead.
sorry, real quick. Also, he actually is the one who went over to talk to her, so maybe I'm a little bit wrong, but
I mean, I think
Whatever.
Wim has probably, to me, Wim and Fern are some of the most growing to do from that regard of like, I mean, Fern seems like almost like she's self-confident, but like in a way that's like, I'm self-confident because like I want others to see me that way. And so there's probably some insecurity there. Well, I think Wim's just a little dumb and just needs to like
Okay.
grow a little bit and like learn, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to like, like learn from Neil. He's got to learn from his best buddy Neil, because Neil really like learned the lessons this episode.
Like, to me, the most defining, I made a fun of the line that Wim has earlier, but I think that line about like, are you fighting the adults? That's so cool. Is so telling about him, because like, yeah, on the surface, you hear that sentence, you're like, that sounds really badass. Like, yeah, go kids, like, fight the man. But then when you think about it, like, so a bunch of kids are all being horribly abused and like attacked by these parents and they're adults that they have to fight back on their own. That's horrific. Like, that's going to take a whole planet of like therapists to unwind that childhood trauma. And Wim doesn't see that. He's just like,
No.
oh, this is so cool. Yeah, let's go free the planet. war on the kids. And I thought that was so telling about his character.
What I think is interesting though is that like you said, he says that with such excitement, like, "Are you guys fighting the adults? Are you guys taking over the planet?" But then the moment they show up to the, school and meet the rest of the Troik clan,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Guys, this is messed up. They can't make us fight. We're kids."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Are you dumb? Like, you were so excited." It's okay. It's okay. He's a cutie. He's learning a lot.
He's learning a lot.
They're really winding it out. I hope we get more of a KB focused episode, because I think we really
Mhm.
kind of need that. But yeah, so far I'm loving all of them.
Yeah,
And of
I
course,
love
the kind of
Kibi.
what'd you say?
I was just saying I love Kibi. Continue.
And of course, our big kind of plot development is that, as you said, they get to this tower, they find the names of all these planets and the coordinates of most of them, but they don't have the coordinates of At-Aten. Those have been destroyed. We find out that Smee has he did it himself, and then he was ordered to wipe his memory by the old captain, who I keep wondering who that is, and if it's someone we're already spending time with. And Fern is very smart and figures out that as captain, she can tell him to override that and tell her. But then they stumble onto an older command from the earlier captain saying, basically, if they ever do this, just kill them. Quite gruesomely, like rip them apart piece by piece.
It's got to be a Wookiee.
Yeah. And so we get like this really kind of horrifying moment where this person who's been kind of like the only parental figure turns on them and almost kills Neil, until our not really a Jedi hero is able to leap in and turn Smee off. What'd you take on all
He's
that?
heroic by doing the least heroic thing.
I mean, he tried to get the
Turning his
gun
opponent.
going, but I don't.
I will.
It was interesting that like the camera angle they chose when like SM-33 was kind of like getting into that fit of rage was really interesting to me. It's just like spoke to the change of mindset. We hadn't seen that before. Like he looked the scariest he looked. It also made me like really question, like, first of all, who his captain was, and why like his captain was so hell bent on like, well, okay, so my larger theory on all this is that like his captain is one of the leaders living on At-Aten. That's like, why the ship was hidden there. That's why he was left there, and like the captain went to the other worlds to scratch off any coordinates, any markers leading back to At-Aten. I don't know if that person also caused some of the destruction,
Right.
but clearly this droid Smee has been to like some of the other at planets and is like aware of efforts to like wipe At-Aten from the memory and any other maps.
Okay, so I just want to speak on this a little bit. So, one thing about Fern doing that override because she's the captain, that was a callback to the first episode when she ran home and her mom had just gotten home, and she told like the nanny droid, like,
yeah, she mentioned
manual
nanny droid.
override. I've been here the whole time. What?
She said it's just like with my nanny droid at home, and then she did that.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Aaron's pointing out.
Okay. Anyways, yes. So I didn't remember if they said it in the episode or not. And then my thoughts and theories about SM-33. First of all, yes, it was very violent. The command was like pull them apart. And God, did he get scary. He literally like General Grievous style, his like limbs started expanding. Like,
yeah,
I was like, what the fuck? Why didn't he do this when they were on the pirate planet and the kids were getting attacked? Whatever, holding out. But it makes me wonder a lot about the captain. Part of me really wants it to be Hondo, but at this point, I understand it can't be Hondo because Hondo's not that fucking cruel, and he's never cared that much about any job ever. He literally just leaves if it becomes no longer worth his time. We've seen it. And then one kind of thing that I really caught on to is the droid 33 had said, oh, he also like commanded me, if anybody asked about Atten for the treasure to pull them apart, and then he like went into the command mode.
Right.
But the thing is, like, the kids don't want the treasure. The kids want to get home. So I think that might be a loophole they'll use in the next episode. At least I hope so, because that would be interesting. But that being said, makes me like really think about it, because this is just like a little theory in my head. It's not like clearly been led to at all, but I almost wonder if the captain actually was like from Atten,
Mm.
and like then it became lost, tried to get back there, and when he like found the coordinates, he was like, destroy it all because people stole this planet because they wanted the treasure, blah blah blah, or something like that. I could be very wrong, but that just popped in my head as you guys were talking about it. So I was like, that's a fun way to think about it.
Do y'all think there's a real treasure? Like an actual
No.
like monetary, what not gold, whatever the equivalent to gold would be in the Star Wars universe, treasure on this planet?
I think there's some kind of some resource that has value to others.
Do you think
Yeah.
that's why the planet was hidden?
I don't know. I think they're doing a good job of not leading us too far down the road. I think that could be one of them. I think it could be that all of those other planets had resources, like all the planets, and then this one just got the barrier up because all the others were getting wrecked.
Oh, that would make sense.
I think it's also possible that like there was just some conflict among those planets, and this was the one that kind of pulled back from it. It's not really about the treasure.
Well, that would make sense with what our owl friend from last episode said. What's her name? Val? Not Val.
Kim.
Kim.
Spelled with 5 letters.
Yeah, Kim spelled with 5 letters. She was like that they had. I forgot that she had mentioned, or they had mentioned that like there was all of these different like special resources on these planets that people were seeking. So I guess Atten just has one that hadn't been found yet. Also, whoever came up with the names are all the same. Akron. Clearly, but that clearly like links them all together. Like someone put all these things together. If like they're gonna
Yeah.
name them all that similarly,
Right.
it sounds like an experiment name, or like when I'm trying to save
Yeah.
a file like from a video, and I'm like Final Cut 1, Final Cut 1 for real, and just keep going like that. That's what
That's what I'm
acronyms feel
saying.
like.
I think that's
I agree.
possible. I think it could also be something where, like in Southern California, you have San Diego and San Luis Obispo, and further up San Francisco. Like there's 8 million places called San something because it's the word for saint. And there's also like a lot of places where there's a lot of like St. Louis and St. whatever it is. And so I think it's entirely possible that it's just like a naming convention of that area. But you're certainly right. It could also be like because whatever like overlords are pulling the strings here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh God.
What?
So
What?
these planets are cloned.
Did you just look it up?
No. I'm saying that seems to be with the working theory that we're kind of talking about. I really don't want this to be a part of Project Cinder. I really
Part of what?
really
Say it again.
don't want this to be a part of Project Cinder. The
I
whole
don't
like
think it would be though.
thing of like eventually leading back to Palpatine or something like that.
I don't think it would be, because based on my understanding, they don't even know that there was a war. These planets were hidden from the days of the Republic.
Right.
So I think it predates Palpatine and Project Cinder,
I hope so.
especially
Uh,
based on those old ass things Kim was showing.
Stonehenge.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, not only that, but like the old like tapestry records Kim was showing us in the previous episode. Like these things look
Oh,
ancient. Like clearly they've like built on it, and someone's been intervening in the modern day, but like they look old. Like I would rest your mind at ease, Matthew. I would be, I think, personally shocked if
Yeah.
it related back to the Empire in any way. Well, not
I
the
hope so.
Empire, but like it's Project Cinder.
I hope so.
I may have said this on a different episode, but to me, this Star Wars show feels like these planets are kind of like the Eternals for Marvel. Like
Pain.
it really has nothing to do with anything, but it's like these godlike, really interesting figures that
Right.
just like last for like hundreds and hundreds of times. Just like that's kind of like how I feel about it. Is like something mystical and different within the universe, and it doesn't make a ton of sense, but it's like really cool. I loved Eternals, by the way, even though it did really poorly in box office. I really enjoyed it because I like stories and I like good acting.
Well, Never mind. We can talk about this another time.
Yeah, whatever.
There's a lot of. I thought there was a lot of very good things in Eternals. I
guess I'm in the minority in this room.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of halfway in between, but I get where you're coming from, and I think that's kind of what I'm hoping too, because I like the idea that it's a galaxy. Like, not
Mhm.
every story should be connected. And so there's something actually I'm going to say about the bonus content we're going to do, which is about one of the short stories in that book we've been reading from a certain point of view. But I'll just kind of say it now in regard to this, that like a lot of times when we watch a movie, we read a book, a TV show, we have our main characters, and then we have like the tangential characters who are just kind of like there to sell our character a bottle of water, or to, like, be the cop that chases them down the street. And we forget that they all have their own interiority. They all have their own like complex lives. And so the same goes for something like this. Like, there are these thousands and thousands of planets we keep hearing about in the galaxy. And so the idea that, yeah, some of them have plot lines and things that are going on that have nothing to do with any of the rest of the galactic stuff, but is just kind of tangentially part of it, because at the same time, I'm totally down for that. I don't want a Skywalker to show up in this in any way. I don't want, any of that kind of stuff. I want this to be its own thing.
Skywalker. Yeah, his final episode, Luke just pulls up.
Skirt.
That would just.
By the way, I made the planets.
I think I hadn't read a ton about the show leading into it, but from memory serves, one of the few interviews I did read, they promised there would be no cameos.
Love that.
Okay.
Which, like, good for Star Wars. Good for
Love
you.
an original story.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly good. That might mean no Hondo, but I am mostly.
That would be unfortunate. However, like, he is the only cameo I would accept. But if there really are no cameos, this would be the first Star Wars show ever without a cameo. Even The Acolyte had a little Yoda snippet at the end. There's cameos in everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Mando, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, all of them have either cameos or just like old characters brought in some capacity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what else? What other things in this episode you want to touch on? We've already gone a while, so we don't have to go too much further. But any other last things you guys wanted to bring up?
Why did Wasteland Child Baddie gotta be doing parkour every move? She's hiding, and instead of just like slowly walking or like crawling, she like jumps in the air to slide 3 feet away, just to be like, "Let's go." And
That
as
was
she
so
leaves
funny.
Neil and all of them, does that like crazy backflip just to like for funsies to show up. I mean, like, go off, Queen, like you do your thing. But also, I was like, okay, this feels like to me like a child, like between episode 1 and 2, Anakin Skywalker will be doing when he thinks no one's watching, just like, ooh, I can like screw around and have these little powers here, like.
Except no, I think it's the kind of thing that Anakin would do when he wants to act like no one's watching, but he thinks Padme is watching.
Padme is watching, right?
Have we seen my man smooth Papa Neil? Like, I don't think it's like, I do think that I think it's not uncommon for her to do this. Like, she's the daughter of the chief. She clearly wants to be seen as cool and badass. And like, kids do fun things like that as a way to show off. I do think that she has some, like, she's really fond of this blue elephant dude.
I guess this is true.
I'm not trying to put like romance or sexuality on any of them. They're too young. Not necessarily too young. I mean, some people at that age, sure. But like, let me start that again.
No, can I just real quick interject that the change from like smooth Papa Neil to next time you bring him up as blue elephant is crazy.
Yeah, Matthew, smooth Papa Neil is gonna be my name next week.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine.
That's what I was thinking.
SPN's the way to go. But yeah, like,
oh my god,
they're at that age where I don't even think they know that maybe these are romantic feelings or I want to kiss them feelings, or maybe they're not. It doesn't matter. But like, surely she likes him. She wants him to have nice thoughts about her. And I think she does this a lot when there's people around who she wants to impress. And so to me, it felt totally within her character.
As a child with ADHD, I did run around pretending I was swinging a lightsaber and jumping off of things and being crazy. So I guess it makes sense.
Oh, same. You know, like those snow poles that people put in their yards that are made out of plexiglass. Yeah, well, I used to use them as Jedi swords, and then I'd fill my hands.
Poles? What's a
Jedi swords is crazy. Why did I not see
What's a snow
lightsabers?
pole? I grew up in New Jersey, so I don't know what a snow pole is.
Okay, so a snow pole is
either.
something that they put along driveways and like curves in the road so that when it snows, delivery trucks and like trash trucks don't drive through people's yards. They know to go
Oh.
around the orange poles that are sticking 3 feet in the air.
That's what those are for?
Yeah.
Oh, I
didn't
had
know
no
that.
idea. I thought they were like marking like power lines or something.
No.
Yeah,
Or like
They're
water
like-
main lines.
they're
That's really
orange with
interesting.
like white stripes on the top. Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. I did not know that's what those were for. I learned something new today. That was awesome.
You've educated some East Coasters. I
Yeah.
like.
Sorry, guys. I
I
thought
like-
that was gonna be relatable.
Well,
I relate now. I
but
get it.
talk about relatable. I think one of the reasons why we all kind of roll our eyes a little bit at Wim and his like bouncing off the wall antics. We're all ADHD kids, and he's the most relatable. Like that's us in the story, guys.
Oh, I was
let's
Wim as a child.
let's
I'm
name
Wim
names.
now.
I know.
All right. Any of the last things on the list before we wrap up?
Oh, I love this show. I will say I did really, although Jude Law's character is really a piece of shit because he stole money from the children, which is crazy.
But he
stole-
used it to save them.
No, that doesn't justify it for
He bought
me.
the Eopies to save them.
Correct. Still stole money from a child. Feels wrong.
Hear me out.
I did really. Okay, go ahead.
If you were trapped somewhere, held captive somewhere, and an adult stole your lunch money, but then used it to save you from captivity, would you forgive that adult?
Are you saying that I'm
That's what
not an
happened.
adult?
It's literally they were being held captive pretty much. He took this kid's lunch money and he saved them with it.
Here's what I would want to know. First of all, Aaron is an adult, so let's just kind of keep that in mind as we talk.
If an adult
No, but
steals
I was
your
saying
lunch
like
money,
if Aaron was a like,
I am an
like
adult.
if
Yeah,
Aaron was
no.
a kid.
Her behavior often makes us forget that, but she is an adult.
out of pocket, caught astray. Carry on.
Gen X, I have no idea what you're saying.
Okay.
But here's I think the key question for all of it.
Oh my god.
Did this guy say, I need to get money to rescue these kids, and the only place I can find it is in their backpacks? Or did he steal their money, then realize he had to save them and go, oh, damn it, I'm going to have to spend the money I stole that I was going to use to go buy myself a drink or whatever?
You cannot
Fine.
prove intent. I will see you in court.
I'm just throwing
Remember-
out theories. This is a grand jury. This is not a full jury yet. I'm not accusing. I'm not saying to accuse. I'm just saying, like, it's a thought worth thinking.
Honestly, when Smee found him, I really wanted Smee to like literally beat his ass and throw him in the brig. And the kids get back and they're like, "Where's Jot?"
Agreed.
Um,
Also, because here, maybe I'm totally wrong on this, but I recently rewatched the first episode with Mary. We watched everything. We were talking before about who that pirate captain is who said all these things to Smee. Was Smee in that first episode? I don't think he was, right?
The very first episode, no, because they didn't open the ship until the second one.
Okay. Well, no, I mean in the flashback at the very beginning.
Oh,
Because-
no,
No.
because I don't think that flashback was that long ago.
Okay, because that flashback clearly, like John Anawood is whatever the name is he is the captain of that, right? Because it
yeah,
certainly
he's the
sounds like-
he's the
Yeah.
mask guy. He's the
He's Captain
yeah.
Silvo.
Okay, but then that's not the same as what Smee was from. Okay, now
Yes.
the circles are all connecting for me.
Because that's why Jod keeps asking, like, whose ship is this? Like, where'd you get this ship? Like, I
Right.
feel like Jod is especially suspicious and
Mhm.
always has been about who the captain was. And now that, like, what happened in this episode, guys, take me off the podcast. I'm canceled.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You're fine. You're fine.
No, what happened on this episode really just confirmed what I was thinking.
Yep.
I did.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did find the kind of little montage of Jod being like, no, but what about At-Atten? Like, what do you know about it? And the can't say I remember At-Atten. Can't say I remember.
At-Atten.
And the one time where he was like, you know what? It does look. And then the rat came out of his eye and he goes, can't remember. Can't
Yeah, I
remember
thought that was really
At-Atten."
well done, as like letting you slowly figure out, like, oh, this is like Tahiti.
It's
It's a
very
wonderful
programmed.
place. It's a magical place. Whatever the line from Agents of Shield is.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
No war at all. Never has been. Never will be.
Never will be. My final comment is that Neil is the GOAT. That's all.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, let me ask you both a question. With the holidays coming up, can you think of many better presents for a Star Wars fan than getting a lightsaber?
Like okay,
No,
hold on.
I
Matt,
love
Matt,
lightsabers.
do you mean a
I
functional
love
real life
lightsabers.
lightsaber or like the ones that exist in our world?
No, I don't mean giving a child the ability to cut their friends in half for teasing them. I mean, yes, the kind of lightsabers you guys use for cosplay and stuff like that.
I love lightsabers. I have many lightsabers. I think other collectibles are cool too, though. Like as a Star Wars fan, I love little pop Funkos. I have a Jedi robe Snuggie that Funko Pops. I'm sorry. Everyone makes fun of me for that. I say it wrong.
It's fine.
I have
it's
a
fine.
Jedi robe
The way you do.
Snuggie that I really love.
Uh-huh.
It has a little hood and pockets. Also, Columbia makes winter gear at Star Wars Clone Wars design based that I like. It's a little more expensive, but it is the warmest, like most utilitarian like Star Wars gift I've ever gotten for myself. And last but not least, of course, any and all Lego Star Wars sets are also, I think, excellent gifts for the Star Wars fan.
No, they really are. And I really appreciate that, Alex, because this was an attempt to segue into getting us paid by supporting our sponsor, Level Up Lightsabers, who, by the way, if you shop through them to the link on our website, you get a great discount, and you'll also get to help support our podcast and get a great quality lightsaber. But for anyone who worries that these are pre-scripted and that I've written this in advance to get them to say these things, Alex's complete failure to understand what I was trying to go with that. Because Aaron got it, and Aaron was like gesturing, like, no.
I was like, wrap it up, man.
I did not pick up on that at all. I'm gonna. Lightsabers are by far the best gift to get for a Star Wars fan.
The often, well, because here's the thing, because last week when Aaron, or 2 weeks ago when Aaron wasn't here, I got Alex to talk about how awesome books on tape were. For our other sponsor, who's Audible, you can get a whole year of books on tape. You get 1 credit a month. It's not books on tape anymore. It's books on whatever you want it to be.
Books on tape.
Audiobooks. Star Wars audiobooks are great. They've got, all the sound effects, the music. Level Up Lightsabers. I know there's other great people who make lightsabers as well, but Level Up is the one that I've been working with for a while. I have a lightsaber from them. They're a sponsor of this show. The link is in the show notes to get one. If you know Neighborhood Master Alan, he talked with us about Anakin, and we had an awesome podcast that the sound quality had some problems with, so I'm still working on getting it up, but it'll get on there. He's definitely going to be a guest again, but he's the maker of Level Up Lightsabers. Check them out. The links are in the show notes for both Level Up Lightsabers and Audible.com. And if you get a subscription, if you purchase lightsaber, or you get a year subscription to Audible, or give those as a gift to someone because they make great gifts, do that through those things, and you'll like to help support the podcast as well. Of course, another way to support the podcast is to become a member. $5 a month, $55 a year. You get ad-free content. You get bonus content. You get bonus episodes, and you get to know you're helping to support us, do all the things we want to do so that we can go out and get more lightsabers and do more cool cosplay. So all these things are great. Please help us out that way. Please have a wonderful holiday of whatever you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate, a happy new year. We're going to keep coming back to you through those times because Disney is not taking a break. So we're not taking a break. I'm going to take a break, but my Padawans here are going to keep going. And I'm just going to keep talking now because apparently I can't stop talking. So I'm just going to say this is great. So good to have you all on the podcast. We have spoken.
Stay classy, Kashyyyk, because of Wookiee Life Day.
Alex was paid by the Kashyyyk Tourist Board to say that.
Indeed. They gave me an orb.
Pull them apart.
Happy Life Day.
Happy Life Day, y'all.
I really did not pick up on what was going on there. I am so sorry. I just went on my own little rant. I'm looking around my room and I'm like, ooh, that's a Star Wars gift I got, and I got that too.
At some point, I was like, he's having his moment.
I was not even
Just
looking
let
at
him go.
Aaron. I literally, my eyes were just going around my apartment to different Star Wars things I have.
No, it was perfect because again, I don't want it to sound scripted. I want it to sound organic, and I forgot to do it early till the end.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
To be included.
Yeah.
Off the record.
No, on the record. I do want to take a quick moment here to shout out Matthew's kind friend, Jared, who actually gave to Matthew to give to me some
Mhm.
Ahsoka merch.
Yes.
And it's the coolest damn shit I've ever seen.
I'm so
What'd
glad
you
you like
get?
First of all, I don't have it with me. It's upstairs. But I got an Ahsoka backpack. You know those cute mini backpacks that they sell at every con
box
all the
lunch?
time?
With the little box lunch backpacks? Is that what you're describing?
I think so.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to visualize.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a really cute little leather basket.
backpack.
Guys, I'm having trouble. I'm just awed and mind blown at how amazing these gifts were. I also got a Funko Pop of Shin.
Yeah.
I need some more.
Pop Funko Pop.
I need more Pop Funkos of my girls.
Yeah, I have an army in my apartment, so be careful. You'll get addicted.
Nice.
No. Yes, and then the really cool thing, it's like a special limited edition little box thing, and inside is the headdress from the Ahsoka TV show, but like as a headband,
Yeah.
and then like a bead necklace. I was like,
I was really
I've
afraid you were
never
just going to say
seen
the
this
head of
shit.
Ahsoka.
Inside was a full-size bust. Are you kidding
I
me?
was like,
I'd lose
damn,
my shit.
awesome.
That'd
Yeah,
be
I'm
cool.
so glad you like those. When Jared is a big fan of the podcast, I will say his daughter, he has been a part of this podcast before. He's a huge Star Wars fan. His daughter is really interested in this show and Star Wars in general, and she's going to be on the podcast with us at some point soon. I believe she's 10 years old. So we will clean up our language a bit for that episode and have a lot of fun when we bring her on. But yeah, Aaron, I'm so glad you like all that stuff. And if we ever get some pictures of you with any of that, please we'll send them on to the fans.
I've just been waiting for a day when I'm wearing makeup.
That's fair. That's fair. I feel the same way. I have so many TikToks I want to make. And
yeah, I wanted to hop on the podcast to let Jared know he's appreciated because it might take me a few more days.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. And I'll edit that in.
Oh, now I need to go turn on the oven, preheat some stuff for my family. Don't talk shit about me, please.
Oh, Aaron's just the worst. The worst. The worst.
About Aaron. Talking shit about
There she goes.
Shit about Aaron. Talking shit about
Oh my
Aaron.
god.
Aaron.
Long snoot was funny.
Long snoot.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to find his actual name.
I looked ahead at the book and realized I didn't know. I knew Ashley Eckstein wrote a story. I didn't know Will Wheaton wrote a story. That's kind of fun.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. But like 2 or 3 away from where we currently are, too.
Who is Delilah Dawson who wrote this one? Do you know?
I don't. Let me see. It's about Delilah. I'll figure it out.
Garandan Ez-Zavor.
I got it. Delilah Dawson's written the Phasma novel, Star Wars Inquisitor, or the Star Wars Galaxy Black Spire. So she's written, it looks like 3 Star Wars books. Oh, also Forces of...
Talking shit about Aaron. Talking shit about Aaron.
Talking shit
about
Aaron. Talking shit about Aaron. Talking shit about Aaron.
Talking shit about Aaron. Aaron. Talking shit.
Hey guys.
Yeah. So if you want to just, as you're introducing it, Matthew, she wrote Phasma, Black Spire, and a couple other books.
Okay. Welcome back, members. You guys are the lifeblood. You guys are what makes all this happen. You are the Santa under our tree. You are the light of our Hanukkah Shabbos. I'm gonna restart all that because I was
all wild, from Aaron blowing out her vape to the Santa under the tree.
Under the tree. Welcome back, members. Thank you, as always, for being a part of this podcast. We are so grateful for your support. And I got a question for you as we start this discussion of Long Snout, the character from the Star Wars canteen, the character from Star Wars A New Hope, who gives the Imperials the information, that helps them lead them to try and capture Han Solo before they can take off from Tatooine. Probably long, seen as just like, oh, that guy's an enemy, and we get so much more of his backstory. And so let me ask you both. Do you think that Garandan Ez-Zavor, which is his name, who comes from the planet of Kubindi. Now, he's got a long snout. Is his species, do they share a genetic ancestor with Neil's species?
No.
I really
do
thought
not
you were going to
believe
say. I thought you were going to say Geonosians.
That's
Geonosians, for sure.
I think they're connected to Geonosians somehow.
okay. I can see that. I can see
Well,
that.
so the thing is that well, for one, he mentioned having descended from insects. For two, he mentioned only being able to like tolerate a Geonosian made drink. For three, being that Neil is always compared to an elephant, I'm just inclined to think that he is more of a mammal style creature rather than
That's fair.
an insect.
I could do a long snout impression.
See, and this whole story is about like giving him some dignity, giving him. He's basically the hero of his own story. Like
He's a wealthy man, a leader of a
I just had
successful
to. I always thought
clan.
the sound as a kid was so funny.
so much of the story is about how humans make fun of their language because they don't fully understand it. And so, what does Alex do? Alex makes fun of their language. I appreciate
Like a
you, Alex.
true Anakin stand.
Alex is the control by which all of our other experiments can be shown. It's so good. Anyway, today we're talking about the next chapter in From a Certain Point of View, The Secrets of Long Snoot. Not Snout, forgive me, Snoot, although he talks about his having a snout. It's by Delilah S. Dawson, who wrote the Phasma novel, as well as a number of other great Star Wars works. What do you think of this little short story?
I thought it was very fun. I enjoy when this book gives characters a little more depth. Like in the past, to me, like all Imperial spies in my brain looked like this dude for some reason. Like I thought they were just a mask, like they were just masks that were worn by Imperial spies. Like, and that they all just that weird sound they made was just like some weird code they used. But this like gave us, the fact that like he was just doing this to make ends meet. It put it in perspective of like, the Empire has forced so many people to make horrible, like put them in horrible positions to have to make choices to survive and provide for their family. And this is clearly a very like honest, desperate man whose children are senators and orators and other high artists and high achieving things in society. And he is clearly unhappy to be on Tatooine. And I for a little bit, I cheered for him just a smidge, except that he called my boy R2D2 a stump. And that that both made me laugh hysterically and hurt me a little bit. Yeah, I'm looking for a gold and a stump.
What about you, Aaron?
So Aaron has to recover for a second.
No, y'all are making me laugh. My incisions hurt.
Stump.
Yes, this story. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed learning about new species every time. Like that's always. I'm like, ooh. I'm like, it's a collectible.
That
Tell me
sounded like
about
him
them.
too.
Alex.
The role of Class Cat Clown will no longer be played by Alex Corman. Please continue, Aaron.
Anyways. Right. I loved learning about his family and then like learning about his plight because it's like he says how everyone in Mos Eisley, or somebody says this to him, they think he's super rich, they think he's a killer, they think this, that. Oh. Sorry, those were my alarms for dinner.
Okay.
I liked learning about his family. But what I actually found was very interesting, I want to talk about. Do you guys understand the process of aging for this species? Because he says when he was in school, he was supposedly chosen for a special like ambassadorship by the Empire, and then basically like enslaved and put through like a dark trooper level reprogramming. Didn't work on him because he's feisty. And then has just been forced to live away from home. He tried to go back before, but they're surrounded by an Imperial blockade. He's like, and then he mentions having, his children. He mentions having grandchildren, and then being like, well, I can't wait to meet like my new grandchildren that I'm sure have been born. And I'm like, wait, so you left when you were still in school, but you already had grandkids? So I'm like, these guys must get going young, and they must have like shortened life cycles, or like just like shortened birth cycles.
Yeah, to me, it felt like, I mean, bugs like have, so like a fly has a lifespan of like less than a month. So like in my
Yeah.
brain, like
Mhm.
it's just a much more rapid maturation process.
Yeah, I mean, people do also go back to school later in life. But yeah, I definitely
Facts.
thought that like it was a kind of like in their life cycle, you go to school like after you've at least gotten, you've had a mate and you have kids and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense. And also because he mentioned that the school taught imperial propaganda. So I
Mhm.
wonder if that wasn't like maybe initially part of their infrastructure.
Yeah, it's very possible.
I don't
And
know.
I just like that because I like that it wasn't clear because it's what they really make clear is that his species is just fundamentally different. Like
Mhm.
it's not a hive mind the way we talk about it. Clearly, all of these people are individuals, but it is a hive, and that has a very different social structure than the world we know. And
Mhm.
yeah, I like it for the reasons you guys are talking about, but also just for me, the reminder of like so often the stories that are tangential to the story we care about probably actually has its whole other thing, especially because you think about them being reversed. Like we've definitely seen in a lot of movies and TV shows, but especially in video games, where like in order to get your objective that is noble and good, you have to do a little bit of shady stuff. And so like, imagine we actually got a movie about him where it was all about his fight to like free his planet from the Empire, and he had to do a little bit of shady stuff, but he was kind of like, haha, the Empire is going to pay me and I'm going to use that money to overthrow them. And we
Mhm.
were like, okay, you had to do some shady stuff, but no big deal, because we didn't realize that the little bit of shady stuff he had to do was what would have stopped the Death Star, because now the Death Star actually is just going around destroying planet after planet. Like
Yeah.
and here it's the reverse, and I just love that reminder of like everybody actually is the hero of their own story, even if we're
Mhm.
only seeing them for 5 seconds while they're making what we hear as strange noises to say that Han's in trouble.
Yeah. I also liked how you kind of mentioned how he shit talks the human basic language. Um, and it's so interesting to hear about his language and specifically, like the snoot
Yep.
aspect of it, the
Yep.
snoot of it all, they might say. Um, but it's it was interesting how much was portrayed through like movements. He kind
Mhm.
of said,
Mhm.
like, if you could read my language, I just like wrote a book with my trunk or something like that. He's
Right.
like, I snorted a poem in response, which
Yeah.
he didn't understand. He's too stupid. Like that's literally the internal monologue. For this one, I listened to most of it because now Kindle has like an audio option.
Oh, nice.
And the voice they had doing it was so funny because it was
Oh,
just
I
like
love
a
that.
deep, kind of goofy accent. I don't like
Mhm.
random European mixed accent.
Oh my
I don't
god.
know. It made it really interesting.
I am the long people.
Yeah, I think generally
No,
felt
exactly.
I think I just generally felt bad for him, but also like kind of he was a little pretentious. I mean, like I get it, Tatooine is a tough place to be, especially Mos
Mhm.
Eisley, but clearly like thought very highly of himself, very lowly of humans and other kind of beings around him. But also like pretentious but like respectable. Like he liked the bartender at Mos
Woo
in the
her.
cantina. What's his name?
Woo her.
Woo
Woo
her.
her.
Thank you. And just like I don't know, like I felt bad that like the Empire like obviously forced him into slavery, put him in this position, kind of like a similar Finn type vibe. But long as he's trying to get out of it, trying to get home, trying to stick it back to the Empire, which I respect and appreciate. And so at the end of the day, you can't really ding a bug-like creature for just trying to get back to his family, even if he is chasing America's favorite gold one and stump.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where we are. All right. Well, thanks, folks. This was a fun discussion. Thank you to our members for tuning in. We will have fun with you coming back next week. We have spoken.
Stay classy, Ad Akron.
I got nothing.
What do you do the quote that he keeps saying? I don't remember anything about that. What do you say?
I don't recall nothing about no Atten. Oh, it was the title of the episode.
It's can't say I remember no Atten.
There you go.
Thank you.
Done.
Namaste.